I'd like to welcome everybody to Tech Tuesday. I'm Jim Bush, one of the support managers at Datalink and customer support. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules today to join us for Tech Tuesday. I'd like to cover some quick housekeeping, and then we can get the show started. Throughout the presentation, Datalink Principal Architect Juan Orlandini is going to be responding to your questions via the Q&A tool. Juan's been with Datalink for over 18 years. Q&A transcript will be emailed to all the attendees after the presentation, and that will be within 48 hours. The recorded version of this event will be available online as well, and you'll receive that link via the email also. If you have any questions after the event has concluded, please send them to techtuesday@datalink.com. At this time, I'd like to introduce Eric Lindbeck. He's a solutions architect with the Managed Services Group and has over 6 years with Datalink. Take it away, Eric.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My pleasure to speak to you this afternoon. So we'll be talking about the Datalink StorageScape service. I'm going to talk about high level as well as how it fits into our overall services portfolio. Do a demonstration of the product as well. Recap a little bit, and then of course tell you how you can get in touch with us to get additional information. So where does this fit in terms of our overall suite of services? Datalink has a comprehensive suite that hits everything from pure hardware, software support all the way up through fully managed services as well. Well, it fits a little bit in the middle. The blue highlight in the middle, StorageScape, is part of what we call our enable tools. Allows customers to do it yourselves. The managed monitoring, for example, is pure monitoring as a service. We help you generate reports, create thresholds, make sure collection's happening properly, and direct those alerts to your team for resolution. We can do that with your regular hosted infrastructure, internal or in a data center. We can also do it with cloud-based. StorageScape is similar to that in that this is a tool that we help enable you to use, but you consume and you figure out what you want to do with the information that comes out of it. That's the enable column. On the support column, this is our one call. It's one of our flagship products, vendor-approved hardware and software support across a variety of technologies. So instead of going to, for example, Symantec for, say, net backup support, you can purchase that from us, and we'll give you the same, or we'd like to say a better service than Symantec. We're certainly very focused on the Symantec technologies and pride ourselves in the quality of service that we can provide across all of these technologies when we perform hardware or vendor-approved support on it. And on the far right, under the managed services, we can operate on your behalf a variety of technologies within your environment. Hardware, operating system on down, hardware on the server side, networking, storage infrastructure, virtualization layers, and then bubbling up into the application layers, net backup, as well as archiving, voice systems, and even into the cloud as well. So a little bit about this as a service. What does it look like to have reporting delivered as a service? Well, there's a few different parts to it. In the upper left-hand corner are our customer environments. And this is one sample customer environment, but repeat that dozens of times over, hundreds of times over to hit all of the environments that we monitor on behalf of our customers or as part of one of our other services. Within that customer environment, we have a collector appliance. This appliance is responsible for gathering the alerts, gathering information from the variety of applications and hardware within the customer environment, then takes that and sends it back to the Datalink data center, where that data is evaluated against alerting thresholds and it's stored for long-term reporting capabilities. The connection between them is secured. That's a key part of what we do, is to work with your team to make sure that communication is secured properly for our customers' security requirements. We then do the heavy lifting in terms of maintaining that back-end infrastructure. All the alerts, all the reports, all that data is our responsibility to make sure that the systems that we have can support it in terms of growing the storage, making sure we have the horsepower to run the reports, and to making sure that it's available so that our customers, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, our customers can then log in via our portal, our web-enabled portal, to run reports, to look at information, to make configuration changes, etc. And so that's the basics of it. We take care of the underlying details that need to happen to make reporting as a service happen, and our customers just consume that output, those reports, that data, the complexities of making new reports, of maintaining the infrastructure. That's all on us. So you don't need to learn a new tool. You don't need to support a new application within your environment to get the benefit of a robust reporting technology. So let's hop over and take a look at the actual portal. This is actually a demo version of it that we will walk through. So let me get that shared out. Very good. So a little note about this. This is a demo environment. You'll see thousands of hosts and dozens of arrays. This isn't an actual real environment sitting there. This is a demo environment in the database. As a result, a couple of the reports might look a little wonky when it comes to dates and that sort of thing. There are processes that run just to keep this data refreshed and keep it looking new. It's all entirely usable data in terms of making the reports do what they want, but there's a little oddities every once in a while with the way the date timestamps are updated to make this look a little bit different in terms of results than they would in a production environment. That's certainly a lot better than having to keep an entire data center full of equipment to be able to demo every aspect of the product. So what you see here, this is a sample login screen. Over on the left, let me start with that. We have the main areas of the product. Capacity Manager is what we're going to be talking about today, so I'll skip that for right now. But the other modules within the product bear a little bit of discussion just to let you know that they're there. Each module is licensed individually, so you pay for what you need, and we'll scale that, we'll size that appropriately to your environment. File Analytics, that module looks at the files, the data within your storage systems, looking for duplication, looking for files that are extremely large, extremely old, extremely unused. Allows you to make intelligent decisions about what data can be moved off of certain disks. Say a very expensive disk doesn't need to be storing large files that are never used. Virtualization Manager looks within the virtualization environment to give information about the virtual machines that are there, see how that's mapped to storage, and allow you to gather information from both the storage side as well as the VM side on that environment. Fabric Manager looks specifically at the fabric, the switches within a Fibre Channel environment, allowing you to map that equipment out, manage zones, and see mappings between hosts and storage. Backup Manager is a very deep and broad tool to look at a variety of different backup infrastructures or backup technologies to get robust reporting on success failure, as well as track utilization and consumption for auditing purposes, as well as for chargeback, billback purposes. Last but not least is Replication Manager. It deals with NetApp snaps and colons. So let's get started with the Capacity Manager. The first report that we see actually already is run here, Array Executive Summary. That was kicked off here. It's kind of a good place to start with the capabilities of StorageScape. First thing you notice here is that we have a variety of technologies listed here in one report. That's a hallmark of StorageScape in that we're cross-platform and we can pull it all into individual reports. So it's no more having to report on EMC and have an entirely different set of reports that are just NetApp, and then you have to manually pull it all together. StorageScape pulls that all together for you. Love this report because it is at the executive level. This one's very high level. How much is available, how much is used, what frames are there, for example, and then very much on an executive level. Green, red, yellow, reports of utilization. A couple other standards here with regards to StorageScape is the column headings are hoverable, I like to say. You hover over it and you get a pop-up that tells you more about what that column means. The other thing is they're also clickable, which sorts them. So if I click here on frames, I sort by the quantity thereof. And lastly, but not leastly, is whenever you have the blue, and this is you'll see this across a lot of the reports, you can click on that to drill down, and to get more detailed, progressively more detailed information. So if we click on the 10 here for the EMC frames, we'll kick off another report. By the way, it's tabulated, so we still can go back to the original and get to our more detailed report as well. Some of them take a few seconds to run, so it's sometimes useful to kick it off and then pop back to a previous report to keep looking at it until the new one is done. So I've drilled down into the EMC arrays. We have them listed here on the left. And we have further, more detailed information about those frames. Well, let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. So let's take this first storage array, for example. Click on the RAID group. Take a look at the detail within the RAID group. It's a nice long list of RAID groups, but good information. Name, what array that's on, the RAID type, of course, capacity, utilization, numbers. Let's go down one more level. RAID group 0. Let's take a look at the specifics of what makes up that RAID group. Now we get a whole mess of very detailed data. What I like here, in particular, is you have it down to the individual disk drive, including serial number. So as you're looking around to, say, having to replace a failed disk drive and the serial number may be important to you, you have that information readily at hand, already collected for you. You can see this is quite a lengthy list, right? Indeed. Let's close out a couple of these tabs. Go back to the array executive summary for a second. There's a lot of customization that you can do purely within this GUI. Now, there come times, of course, when existing reports can't be customized to get you what you want. And that's where we'll step in, communicate with us what you need. We'll look to see if we can customize anything for you, or if need be, we can create from scratch a new report. One of the things we like to say is the wonderful thing about StorageScape is there's so much in it, and the terrible thing is there's so much in it. There's a lot in there, and it can become quite a daunting task to say, hey, I need to see this. Does that such and such a report exist? It can be a lot to look through, and it can be even more confusing to think, well, wait a second, what if I find another report that I maybe can customize to get what I want? We're there to help you out with that and find the most expedient way to get you what you need. But sometimes it's pretty simple. So let's take a look at how that looks. I'm going to go back and show this menu for a second here. If we take an existing report and we click on Save, I'm just going to give it a placeholder name here, Demo 1. I've saved this report as a child of the original. And this child, I can now edit and customize to turn it into something a little bit different. So let's go to this Customize button. And let's say I just want to see EMC arrays. Well, in scope right now is all storage arrays. So let's remove that. I don't want that. And let's take a look at storage array by vendors. Drag and drop just EMC technologies into the scope. Click on OK. And then we're going to regenerate to see what this new report looks like. And if we did it right, we'll see just EMC show up on that report, which is what we did, which is what we see. Since we made a change, let's save that again and replace. So a good example of an easy change to make to a report. Let's go and do that in a slightly different way to another report here. We have the NetApp aggregate summary. Kick that guy off. Nice, interesting report here. There's a lot in here as well. Well, let's say I'm interested in looking just for those aggregates that have a very small amount of data left on them. And I don't want to manually do that, and maybe I don't even want to sort to do that, which I could do. Let's instead use a filter. And we're going to look for those that have an available size that is less than, in this case, well, 10 megabytes. Small indeed. Hit OK for that. And there we go. Let me widen this for you. Available size, less than 10 megabytes for each of these aggregates. Great, so we have that. Don't forget to save it. That is number 2. If you look at the bar on the left, we now have demo 2 show up here. So a couple of customizations now for reports. So reports are great. Sometimes, though, you don't want to go into the portal in order to get to them. Sometimes you just want them proactively run on, say, a daily basis. And we can do that as well. We have the email function here. We can run this as an ad hoc email it now function. Send it to multiple people, include a subject if you want, even a link to the report, and a variety of formats to choose from. However, we can also be more sophisticated and schedule that. Same options for scheduled, as I just went over, but you have a choice now of frequency. Very common, say, I want to see it every day at 9 o'clock. And of course, we can enable or disable the emailing so that we can create these without having to necessarily have them turned on. So that is quite useful. The other interesting feature here, useful feature, is dashboarding. You can create your own custom dashboards. Oh, sorry, I went through that a little bit fast. So to report, then to new dashboard, and it gave me a blank screen. Again, we're going to drag and drop those reports that we want. Let's grab demo 2, put it in, grab demo 1, there we go, and put it in as well. Now, if I don't like that order, I can pick them up and rearrange. I can add others if I'd like. And depending on the report, it may make sense to expand the width or the height to make it more easily readable. Once we have this, we can save. We have a choice of where to save it as well. Let's save it under My Dashboards. Give it a name. My Dashboards. And there we go. And we can click on this one report and get that dashboard every time. There we go. Now, just because I create one doesn't mean others won't need it. So we have a share capability as well. Click on Share. So we can share it with individuals, or with groups that have been configured within the tool, as well as, of course, all users as well. This helps a lot within teams so that everybody can be looking at the same data, the same reports. We can all be on the same page very easily. Close down these, create. Cut down on some clutter. Let's take a look at another capability here. And that's capacity and chargeback. A lot of our customers will use this for this function. The idea is who within my environment is using what resources, how much are those resources worth, and how do I show the business what the demands are on me as an IT provider for resources, and why am I asking for however much for my IT budget? Well, by configuring chargeback, it helps to go a long ways to answering those questions, certainly within the storage realm. So let's take a look at how that works. So we can define several different tiers. These are defaulted in here already as part of our demo environment. Let's take a look at a couple of configurations. So you can see here, you can give names, you can name it whatever you want, and assign a dollar value, a priority to each one. Now, the really interesting stuff is how you make this definition of storage. So let's take a look at gold, for example. We edit that. We can see this one's based entirely on drive speed. So any 7200 RPM drive could be categorized as gold. Let's take a look at silver, for example. And see, this is defined based on a family of arrays. So any symmetric DMX in this case, or any RAID type of BCP plus TDEV is a silver and has this cost. Well, you could potentially have overlap here. Well, what if it's both silver and gold by these definitions? And that's where priority comes in. The lower the number, the higher priority. So if there's a 7200 on RPM drive on a symmetrics, well, it applies to the silver and gold. But because gold is a higher priority, it's going to get categorized as a gold. Let's walk through this and add our own. So let's add this to demo. I like dirt cheap storage. And we're going to put it at 1 cent. Add that, and now we have a choice. Now here's where you can see the variety of things that you can do to define. Lots of options here. I like, for the sake of being very specific, to give a specific array. If I were to buy an array, I know what I paid for that array to figure out my per gig cost for that array. And I'd like to tie that to it. So just for the sake of argument, I'll pick the first one on the list and say anything with this array, this specific array, is dirt tier. And there it is on the list. So I gave it a high priority. So if there are more expensive disks that have already been defined on that array, they're not going to get charged at that cheapest rate. Okay, this is all well and good, but what data do we get out of it? Let's go down into the capacity manager group again, and we have a whole section here on chargeback and billing. Chargeback by host. Let's run that, see what we get. So here we go. Host by host. We see what policy their storage belongs to, possibly multiple tiers or multiple policies, what the cost is, what the utilization is, and their total on a host by host basis. Allows us to be very specific. Well, this is great, but it's pretty frequent that chargeback billback happens on a departmental basis. So let's take a look at this aggregated chargeback report. Kick that off. Now what we have are groups of servers, or rather server groups that are aggregated in total. Part of the configuration with hosts is you can define what groups they belong to, and in this way collect all hosts belonging to a certain department or business unit together into one group, and therefore this makes this a very, very quick and easy report to say what's the bottom line for such and such a department's consumption rate. If they look for need details, well, then we can go back to the per host report and tell them specifically what servers are consuming what. Speaking of hosts, we've been looking a lot here at the storage side of things, but StorageScape is able to tie the storage and the host side together very nicely. Let's go here to the host capacity and utilization group and run the host executive summary. And here's our first view into some host side intelligence of what's being consumed. So here, this just for a very high level, of course, is looking at, well, how much storage am I consuming? What's from the point of view of the operating system or types of operating systems? So you can see here in this environment, Linux is the biggest consumer of storage. Let's go down a little bit further in detail. This host capacity and utilization report is going to show, by default, every host in the environment. That's a long list. So what I've done is I've created already this Tech Tuesday report that's going to already has a filter tied to it, so that we're going to look at kind of the most interesting ones here, the ones with larger numbers of volumes associated with them. There were many hundreds in this environment that had no SAN storage. It was completely disk or locally attached disk. Let's make this a little bit more visible. And so here, from the host point of view, host by host, we can see how many LUNs are there, what's allocated, what's used, how much storage is seen, for example. Now this is interesting. The number of allocated LUNs, 526. The number that are actually used is 480. What happened to that 46? So this is an interesting thing here. We can look at and see, what does the storage think it's giving to a host? And we can look at the host and see, well, what are you actually using? What are you actually consuming? There's a discrepancy here. That means, or, well, it could mean a couple things. It could mean that there's an error and some volumes that should be mounted are not. It also could mean that there's some volumes that could be reclaimed and used for other purposes that those hosts do not need anymore. Now here's an interesting column, related hosts. Aptera 1's related host is Aptera 2, and vice versa. What does that mean? So let's drill into Aptera 1 and take a look. See if we can figure out what that means. So here we're looking at some very detailed information on this host. And we're not looking just at the storage or the SAN storage. We're looking at all storage that it sees. So you can see here we have direct attached storage, lots of it associated with this machine. Down below, of course, we have some network attached storage. We have SAN storage up above that happens to be Oracle file systems. If we go down below and we look at the specific ones, now we have a very interesting piece of information. From the point of view of these LUNs, they're associated with two hosts, Aptera 1 and Aptera 2. Well, most likely, hopefully, that's a clustering situation. So by looking at storage allocation from both sides, we can put 2 and 2 together and see that Aptera 1 and Aptera 2 are cluster pairs. And that makes sense from the storage side of it. Now, the other possibility is that it's erroneous, right? So somebody made a misconfiguration and allocated one volume to two different hosts, which shouldn't be right. But in this case, it is. They're clustered pairs. Now, I've gone through a lot of the report, well, several of the reports. I haven't really scratched the surface of what's possible. In fact, there are many sections here that I'm not touching on right now. And there's a lot of power left in the standard out-of-the-box reports that come with the product. However, that's not the full power. I'm going to pop over here to this other window. What I have here is a publicly available report library that is maintained by Aptera. Aptera is the software that underlies Datalink StorageScape product. So if you go to reportlibrary.aptera.com, you'll get this. This is publicly available. This is a repository of additional reports. These are reports that other service providers like Datalink, some of these were ours, some of these were developed by end customers who use it internally, that they perfected a valuable, or what they feel is a valuable report, have submitted up to Aptera. Aptera has reviewed that, maybe cleaned it up a little bit, genericized it, and published it here. Any report here is freely available for incorporating into your StorageScape portal. So it's fun to come out here every once in a while and take a look at the reports. And it's a great place, a place that we'll go if a customer has need for something. We'll check here to see if there's something close that already exists. Because we can download these and we can edit them further if necessary. So a couple of good examples. So just like within the portal, we have reports here divided into categories. Let's take a look at Capacity Manager. Let's take a look at the general ones. Here's one that I like a lot. Days when storage was allocated. I have a bit of an auditing background, so this tickles my funny bone a lot of seeing on a particular array or arrays by array what changed on what day and having it recorded. Previous lives, I know how many times somebody would come in and say, hey, I thought I had this other volume, or something just changed, or blah, blah, blah. And if you don't have a tool that's tracking this and recording this, it can be hard to know what changed or where, or how much, etc. But there we go. We have it here. Bit of an auditing assistance here. Another one that I like, and I'm going to sort this differently just to look at the host storage reports. Host count. There we go. Host count by array. So answer the question nice and quick and easy and with a colorful chart fit for an executive. Very quickly, with just a glance, who are my highest utilized arrays based on the number of hosts that connect to them. And last but not least, host multipathing exposure. The dreaded situation where you think you have a dual-pathed host to the storage, and something happens which should have been protected by multipathing, and only after it goes offline do you realize, oops, there was only one path. Checking up on that, validating that, the existence of multiple paths is important, but can be hard to do on a manual basis. Here is a report that shows us that, and we have red light, green light to call out those that are single path. So, a little bit of a review of what we've hit on today. StorageScape is all about simplicity for the customer. It's a service purely. You don't need to learn a new tool. You don't need to support another application within your environment. Datalink takes care of that complexity, the report writing expertise, the database expertise, the infrastructure support resources to make the service happen. That is all on us. It's a collaborative reporting environment. We think actually that reporting and monitoring are going to eventually go the way of, say, spam filtering and virus filtering. You're much more powerful when you have a community and can tap into a community of other teams that have similar needs, so that when somebody in that community gets something good, makes something good happen, everyone can benefit from it. Kind of like with virus definitions. No one would think of every IT department maintaining their own virus definition files. Well, wouldn't we be all more efficient if we all tapped into the same repository or could share repositories of reports? Sharing, particularly in dashboarding and reports, allows everybody in the IT team to be on the same page. There's that nice sharing, even within local groups, when you have a nice little tweak. And agnostic reporting. So report works the same regardless of what the particular vendor is. That's part of the cross-platform capabilities that we have. Robust reporting. No, it didn't hit on it too much. There's a lot of predictive analysis. So taking past history and finding out when consumption is going to hit critical points, alerting on that so that purchasing or reclamation activities can happen. And we have a great depth in terms of the vendors that we can work with and gather information from. Easy buttons gotta work as well, right? So useful for everybody from the C-level on down to the day-to-day administrators and operators. There's a lot of out-of-the-box reports. Making modifications, as you saw, was pretty easy, and we're completely web-enabled, so there's no agents to have to worry about when it comes to our specialized GUIs to interface with the product. I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. Hope you found this interesting. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And at this point, I will hand it back to Jim.